Alright, giving a little update on the Schwinn Axum. So I've had it about a year now. It's been running just fine. I've only made one change, and that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. Since I made the last updates last year, I upgraded the cranks from the stock ones. These are made by JG Bike. You can get them off Amazon for 40 bucks. Comes with the crank arms, bottom bracket, chainring bolts, a chainring bolt tool, and a Allen wrench to set the bearing tension on the non-drive side crank. Now, I wasn't planning on upgrading my cranks because I was perfectly happy with these stock ones. They seemed to be running just fine, but saw these on Kev Central, and the price, and for 40 bucks, you know, I had to go for it. So it's kind of a good thing that I did. In the process of getting ready to take off the old cranks, I took the chain off and just kind of spun the cranks, and they barely moved. And then when I started playing with them, you could hear grit and grinding in there. The cranks were actually very stiff. You just didn't notice it when you're riding because you just think of it as drag, you know, with the gearing and things like that. So this is the old bottom bracket here. This is a old school square taper with the spindle and cage bearings. I just dropped one on the floor. So these are the bearings, very cheap, generic type of bottom bracket. So the issue was, this is one of the bearing cups, is they have a dust seal on the outside here. That's a piece of rubber, but on the back side, with the bearings in it, they're exposed. So what had happened is dust had gotten into the frame, probably through, see if we can get a shot of it, the dropper post port, and also on the bottom of the bottom bracket shell, there's also a drain port. So if you get water in there, the water can drain out and not get stuck in your frame. What that allows that to do is the dust got in the back there, and since there's no protection, dust and grit got into the bearings and just clogged them all up, and therefore it was very difficult to rotate. Now, the bearings weren't ruined, the spindle's fine, but I don't have a whole lot of miles on this bike. I have quite a few bikes I alternate riding, so I'd say I probably have about 120 miles on the Axum so far. So after 120 miles, I would have to pull the bottom bracket, clean it, or re-grease it, and then reinstall it. That requires pulling the crank arms off, then using a bottom bracket tool to remove the bottom bracket, and that ends up being a lot of time and effort just trying to keep this clean and running smoothly. Now, on the new Crankset has sealed bearings which have dust seals on them, but also there is a plastic tube tunnel that connects both sides of the bearings together, so dirt can't get in there. So not only is it more efficient, it's going to be less labor intensive. So these cranks have been just fine. Again, I don't have a ton of miles on them. Install went easy. The chainring it comes with is what it comes with. You don't have a choice of colors. Mine turns out to be this green, really doesn't match anything else on the bike, but you know, 40 bucks for the whole package. Really can't complain about that. You know, the replacement chainring is probably going to cost you about another 20 bucks. So if color really mattered to me, I'd just spend another 20 bucks, get a chainring, but I'm still ahead of the game. But once I'm on the bike, I don't see the color, so I'm just going to ride it until I need to change it. Other than that, the Axum's still been just fine. It gets ridden fairly, you know, goes through the rotation and make sure all my bikes, no one feels left out, so it gets ridden. Still enjoy riding it, and just going to keep going. So I just thought I'd make this little update. As I promised early on, I'd try and keep updates just to see how things hold up over time. and still happy with it. So thanks for watching. See you next time.